So it's a busy Sunday fun day out here. We got all hands on deck helping me with this car. So my girls are actually painting the brake calipers for me. Never painted calipers blue. Usually it's always red, but we're going to try blue this time just for something different, kind of match the blue stripe on the wheel. But anyway, so wanted to just show you again what this kit comes with, right? So we just got our two harnesses. They're labeled for what they are. The instructions tell us which one should go to which side. We've got the power wire here with a fuse. So that's for, what we're going to run to this relay and all that stuff. They give us some loom so we can make our harness beautiful once we get it all laid out the way we want it. And then here's kind of the whole nice instructions of how he gives us, right? Again, for our Ford, if you look here what it is, right? It's basically just 4 wires that's going to be for to trigger each cylinder, right? We've got a relay 12 volt positive, and then we've got a ground that goes into the Holley, and basically the 2 grounds from each harness, they just go into 1 wire into the Holley. So it's pretty simple. I mean, there's not a whole lot to this, so I'm going to go through one by one, kind of what it's telling me on her connector, and then get it plugged into the Holley. All right, so here is our 550937 Terminator X kit for the small block Ford, right? Here is our computer. Now I've already got the J1A connector plugged in. Our J1B, this is the one we're going to be quote unquote modifying or adding these little sub harnesses into. So you can see that there's 9 holes, or 9 pins that are unterminated. And so we're just going to simply pull those bad boys out, and we're going to insert the 9 pins there. So again, it's 4. Well, basically it's 8 for one for each cylinder, right? And then it's just 1 ground output. So if you look right here, this is our actual cylinder head ground bolted to the cylinder head, 1 cylinder, 2 cylinder, 3 cylinder, 4 cylinder, and then this EST signal ground out. So this is for both of these, get tied together and go right into the Holley, and that's our 9 inputs or 9 little connectors or whatever that we got to do. So guys, this is not very hard, right? Pretty easy. The hardest thing is going to be literally just taking the 2 power wires and then running our relay and finding the switch power and all that stuff. That's the hardest part, but this should be very simple. Holley also makes it super simple to be able to add your pins or pull pins out. So you literally just take these guys. Did you hear that? So you literally just pop this, and then now these pins are able to come out. So then we can pop these out. We're going to pop the new guys in, and then you just once you get it all done, you push that back, and that locks everything in place. Super freaking simple. Then once you get the connector unlocked, like I showed you guys earlier, you just push in the little tabs. See how it's locked, unlocked. So once it's out, then you can just take took a little pick tool, and see, just pop these little plastic, whatever these things are, just pop them out. Already got one out. They come out super simple. So we're just going to pop out all 9 of these dudes, and then we're going to look at our little diagram, figure out, where exactly we put each little wire, 9 of them, into the 9 holes. Can't screw it up. Pretty easy. Lock it back in place. This part's done. And then we'll have to see. Maybe we'll start thinking about how we're going to run the relay, where we're going to get switched 12 volt power, blah, blah, blah. The cylinder head ones, those will have to wait because, I don't want to make those until my harness is actually installed in the car, and then we can, make it perfect and all that stuff. But otherwise, pretty easy. All right, so we got our wires pinned in here. So this is still just for the first harness. I still haven't done, the second one yet. Now the only thing we're missing in here still is the ground wire. So, which is this guy here. Now this is the one that we need to connect with that harness as well. And then I also took some tape and just kind of loosely, this is not permanent, but I just wanted to kind of loosely get some tape in here just because this thing was hard to deal with. So I've got, that's our black wire for the cylinder head. and then, you know, it's kind of coming up. We're going to have to loom all this eventually too. But I think what I'm going to do eventually, let's get the other harness kind of done. Let's get the ground done. And then we can kind of take this thing and sort of like connect it. And then I can kind of get an idea of like, you know, how I'm going to run all this stuff. Because I'm still not sure where's my relay going to go. You know, I've got to figure all that out. Inside the car, near where all this stuff is, we do already have a switched 12-volt power source. So maybe we would just tie into that because the Holley is already going to be tying into that. So maybe we'll also tie into that for our relay as well to trigger that on. And then we can just have our relay somewhere right by the battery, or, you know, somewhere by the heads, and we can just have our power and ground, you know, come right from the battery. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. And then we just run the one wire from that trigger. We run that back through the firewall, you know, blah, 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 kind of just have it tie into here somewhere. That might be the easiest thing. And I think both harnesses will probably ultimately end up getting tied kind of together, right? And then at some point, maybe up here, is where we can have the harnesses tie off into the two separate sections. You know, that's kind of my idea, something like that, right? Or up here, something like that. That gives us enough room to be able to tie it to each cylinder head. So for my application, if you guys haven't seen the build before, you know, I'm thinking the harness will kind of come through the middle of the high ram, and then here's our connector that we need to connect into, right? So we can just have it come right from here. Then we need to have our wire go to the back of the cylinder head. That'll be easy. There's like 3 bolt holes on each side of the head. Those are done. And then we just need to have that relay somewhere, you know, whether it's like right here, and then we just have, you know, power and ground go to the relay from here, and then we just have our little trigger wire come and trigger it. So we got to figure that out, but let's keep rocking and rolling. Let's get this other side in here, and then we'll kind of figure out how we're going to tape it up and all that stuff. All right, so I just realized something here. So remember at first there was 9 holes or 9 open spots in our J1B connector. Actually, we're only using 8 of the 9. So this one here, which is B20, so this guy, I put the little pin back in there. So we're not using B20, and actually what it is the ground, this B14 location. This already has a connector wire in it, right? So I just pulled it out for now. But basically now, and if you look, the colors pretty much match, right? It's like black with the yellow tracer. The grounds on here are like black with like it's more of a green. But anyway, we need to take these 2 guys, which are our grounds now, and we need to connect it into here. So since we've got 3 wires, I don't think there's any, I mean, these are not big wires. So there's no freaking way I'm going to be able to crimp, you know, 3 wires into one. So I think the easiest way, I'm going to think about it, but easiest way might be we just remove some of the cover here, and then I can cut these, strip them, and then we can just solder them on. So okay, so we're gonna figure that out in a second here, but somehow basically we just need to connect these together, right? That's what we're gonna do. So I'm just gonna go through and kind of think about what I want to do real quick. So I ended up just cutting it all, crimped on this thing, and then we just stripped a little section, and then we soldered these 2 dudes on, threw some tape over top. Now we should be good to go. We can stick this thing back in here, and then we're going to work on, we'll put this thing out, put a little piece of tape, and then kind of see, you know, how we want to do it, and then maybe even kind of go lay it out, I guess, and kind of get an idea. Maybe we can get like the cylinder head parts, you know, kind of ready to go. And get you ready to go for painting the calipers.
Again.
Oh yeah, they need another coat. All right, let's go. All right, so in Holley's little kit, they give us two different size wire looms. This is the little bit fatter one, and then this is the skinnier one for when you terminate it into each individual little harness. So just starting right up here at the connector, I loomed it all the way till I got to the end, and then that leaves us just with what, 1.5 feet or something for each of those connectors. And then you can see we got our black wires. These are for the cylinder head grounds, and the other wires I left out, these two guys, which will go together for our relay, right? So this would be our battery power coming off a switched 12-volt source that needs to supply at least 20 amps, right? So going to kind of figure out where that is. So I think I might take this harness now and just kind of sort of drape it across where it's going to go. Now on my application, my harness and stuff will come through the firewall kind of inside this fender right here. So I'm just going to kind of drape it along, kind of put it through. We'll kind of get it connected, and then we can kind of see, kind of play with it and stuff and see how long we need like the cylinder head things to be. I can probably actually terminate the cylinder head things, with the eyelets, and then sort of figure out what we're going to do with the relay. All right, so I took our Holley 550937 harness. I just got it kind of laying out. So, this is about where it enters into my car. So this is pretty accurate to kind of how it would be. So then I just got it kind of laid out. So again, I'm going to have it go underneath my high ram, but this is where, it would be connecting in. You can see we got tons of extra wire for the cylinder heads. I'm probably going to end up using this outer cylinder head bolt on mine right here, just because it's just easier. But if you look, I can still cut off 10 inches, so I'll get those cut. We'll get those all wired up. Now, what I think I'm going to do for the power, that's kind of the final thing that we need for this, right? I'm going to end up probably putting my relay, I'm thinking I'm going to use this bolt for the strut tower brace that I'm no longer using, and we'll just have our relay right here. Then I can loom it, make it look beautiful, all that kind of stuff, or there might be another somewhere else I can bolt it. Then I'll probably just steal like a power tap off of one of these fuses that are inside the box. That'll give me my switched 12-volt power that I need, and then we'll just run right to the battery, get our power since we're already right here, run our ground to it also. I should have plenty of connections the way that I've got these things, so I'll just ground it here also. Should be pretty simple. What I am going to do on this harness though is I'm going to make the two red wires. Right now they're kind of far up in the harness. I wasn't sure if maybe they'd be inside or not, but what I'm going to do is we are going to pull these back out and kind of have them come together, and then of course they're going to terminate into the positive wire on this relay, right? So again, that's pretty easy. And you can see, guys, Holley gives you a crap ton of loom and stuff for this thing. Look at how long it is, right? So we've easily could go in the car and be back at the seat, if not farther. So plenty of loom if you're adding this to your Ford or like a GM application too. They make the same thing for like small block Chevy or whatever you got. All right, so for our wiring and relay for the coil on plug here, I did a little bit more work. So I kind of got, this is our harness right here. So I kind of got the cylinder head things taped back a little bit better. So basically I think we're gonna kind of loom it pretty much like this. We'll leave this out for the cylinder head. I also, a little trick, I went and put on here, passenger and driver side, just so I don't get confused. And that way when there's loom on it, just in case if I can't see this or whatever. Also, when I went to the hardware store, I had to get some of these big metal eyelets, because my bolts that go in the back of my cylinder head are 7/16 by 14, so they're big monster bolts. So I had to get some 1/2-inch eyelets. I didn't have any, so I heat shrunk these, put some tape over top, crimped them really good, so they should be good. I had to get some new bolts too, so I got some short bolts. I also got these little things for the cylinder head to really dig in. So we should have a super solid connection. Our heads are aluminum anyway, they're not painted or anything, so we should have a really good connection. That should be good. The next thing we need to do is I just need to go through this wire harness, and I want to pull out the red wire. So if you guys remember, we got the red wire pretty far down. We kind of left it, so I'm going to go through it, untape it, pull the red wire out. Basically, I want the red wires to come out, and then I'm going to figure out where I'm going to terminate them. but I already started doing some work for our relay. So this is where our relay is going to mount to. And then the ground, I decided, you know what, I don't even think we need to have it go to the battery because this car, I think, has a lot of good ground points. So I've just got it grounded here. I've also got a ground going from here on the chassis to the engine, right here under this bolt for the coil. So that should help with the motor. I also ended up adding some more ground straps. I've got one right down there on the bolt of the starter, and that's actually going to go right here to the back of the cylinder head along with the with a wire for the ignition, right? So that should be grounded really well. Thought I also added another one. Oh, I did. I ended up adding one right here from the chassis to the turbo. So I figured that's kind of, you know, chassis to engine again, right? So we got 1, 2, 3 ground straps. This engine should be pretty nicely grounded and everything. All right, so let's see where we're at. We got our power for our relay is hooked up. So this is our main battery power. I did throw a 20 amp fuse in there. That's what Holley calls for. It needs to supply at least 20 amps. So 20 amp fuse. That's actually the fuse that came with Holley's little fuse kit. And this is the fuse relay that came with my radiator, actually. So anyway, threw that in there. That's good to go. Got our ground. And then this is going to be our switched 12 volt power. So what I ended up deciding to do, instead of trying to get like some kind of power tap off here, I just took a long wire, and I actually, since I already had to take apart the harness, I ended up just running that long wire. I made it a blue wire. So this wire here is just literally we'll connect it over here to the relay, and then that will run along with the harness right inside the car. And then inside the car, I've already got a dedicated 12 volt switched power supply. So that it's gonna power up the Holley, you know, and it can also power this up because it goes to all the relays or whatever. So it's really low power, but it's 12 volt switched, right? So that's what we need. So that's what I'm gonna do. And then I might even do like a connector, like with the 12 volt switched, and then the actual power, maybe I'll have like a little connector right here. That way I could disconnect it all, you know, and not be stuck with the relay and all that stuff. So just to make it easy, because I've got a bunch of connectors. So maybe just 2-pin connector. The 2 red wires can go together into the white, I think, or no, into the blue. And then the white one can just, you know, connect and go into our harness. So all that good stuff. So we'll be able to get this thing obviously done until we get inside the car and get that done. But you can kind of see, right? You just need power for your relay, battery power. Then you need your 12 volt signal. That's going to complete the circuit with the ground and then give you power to, I don't know, whatever it is, pin 30. That's going to go to our ignition, right? So pretty simple. Man, it just takes a long ass time. So got this thing ready to go. I'm just going to put the loom all back on it. Let me show you what that looks like. All right, final thing I'm gonna show you guys, and I'm calling it a freaking night, but we got our harness all done. So here's what I ended up doing. So these are, this is our power wires that we need from our relay. So we got the 2 terminated down into 1. This is our 12 volt switched, which is actually the white guy. So white guy is 12 volt switched, blue is gonna be the power. So you can see white's 12 volt switched, and then that goes to the ground, and then that triggers the power from the battery over to the blue wire, which gives our thing power, right? So we've got a nice 2-pin Deutsch connector. So what I'm gonna finally do is I think I've got a little bit left of that Holley flex tubing stuff. So I'm hoping this is just enough to, yeah, I think so. Look at that, it's gonna be like perfect. So that should be just enough to go ahead and cover this, and then we'll have this, a beautiful little thing. I'll probably roll this side up in some of the electrical tape that I've got, and this thing will look sweet. All right, final form. So we got this bad boy all loomed out, ready to rock. So again, this is how I'm gonna bolt it. So it's gonna go something like that. Got our fuse, power, and then we've got a nice little thing going to our 2-pin Deutsch connector, and then that follows it back. And then of course this will all be ran under the high ram. Here's our beautiful cylinder head guy. Same on this side, and then this is what will be run into the car. And then what I did on this side is I just left myself a whole bunch of extra wire. I don't think this location is kind of where I think my 12 volt switch is going to be somewhere higher up. So I left this untaped. That way when I get, you know, this all in the car, I can pull it out, do what I want to. But that's all I've got to hook up now is I just hook up this 12 volt switched, and boom, our ignition is good to go. So pretty simple. Took a long freaking time to, plan it, get it looking nice. But I think now this thing, I mean, it looks like it came with the Holley Terminator from the factory. It looks beautiful. So should be good to go. And I think with the Deutsch connectors, it'll be easy to replace and, should give me some trouble-free miles, hopefully. So in the next video, we'll probably get into actually throwing the whole Holley system in here, connecting everything, going through it. But I want to make that a separate video on just doing, the Holley Terminator install in this car. So I just wanted to have a separate video today just for you guys to help out, because I could not find any videos or any information out there on this 558907 sub harness. So I wanted to get a video out for you guys. So if anyone needs to add it, if you're adding these, GM coils to your Ford or to your old school small block Chevy, hopefully this will help you guys out. So like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. We'll catch you boys on the next one.